Thank you for choosing today's KFC. How can I be of service? Okay, yo! On today's Drop in the Bucket, on today's episode of driving around, trying to take over the earth for Jesus, it said something about the violent take it by force. You know what I mean? If anybody knows what that's talking about in the Bible, where it says the kingdom suffers violence and the violent take it by force, you know, are you working hard or are you taking it hard? So like, you know, are they taking over or are they like taking it? Give and take? I don't know. What do I do with my hands? Anyways, straight to the point, Skip. All right. So, you're going to build a house, right? My thought is, if you seal around the kitchen and the bathroom, perhaps even the entire second story, and every room has a drain in the floor, and you do that Schluter system underneath your border for your tile and everything leads to the drain. So now if there's a spill or whatever, everything goes down the drain, which would be real good. But then I thought, you know, at another time, I thought, man, you got that frost-free hydrants work. When you raise that thing up, the deal down inside there opens it up, but it also covers up the weep hole. So when you put it down, it turns the water off, but it also opens that weep hole at the bottom of the pipe. So the water could just weep out of that pipe, and because there's no water in the pipe, when the pipe freezes, it doesn't expand, breaking the pipe. So that's really interesting. So the expansion of water is what you're actually up against with frozen pipes. So let's say that you're going to leave your home for whatever reason, you want to winterize the house. If you were able to, you know, drain all the water out of the pipes, they would not break. And you'd still need a guy to, you know, do your P-traps, and then like run a plunger through your toilet. So the toilet didn't have any in the little gooseneck. And then under your sinks, and then you want to use a hose to evacuate the water out of your water heater tank. I don't know about a contiguous water heater, but that should do it, you know. And once you do all that, you can also do, you got to get the water out of your washing machine as well, and your refrigerator. If your refrigerator is that kind, which I think all of them make ice now. I haven't seen one that didn't in a long time. Anyways, well, maybe let's, you know, if you're doing this as like an off-grid or something like that, whatever. Anyway, the point is, we need a fitting that goes in line from the source water. Doesn't matter what that is, a pressure tank in a well house, the city, the whatever. You know, you got pressurized water coming to your house. At some point, dig a giant leach pit, fill it with gravel, so the water's got somewhere to go. Do a rough estimate of how much water's in the pipes in your house. You know, more pipes, more water. Probably a you know, guesstimation of how long the pipes are, how big they are. A little bit of simple math. Apply that to gallons of water. That'll tell you that. Do just a little bit more. Be on the safe side. That way you can get all the water out of the pipes to your house. Now you can, you know, go out of town for a year or whatever. Or maybe you just want to switch from your, for whatever reason, you don't want water in these pipes. Okay, I'm going out of town for 3 months. It's the middle of summer, but I just don't want a pipe to break and come home to a flooded house. You know what I mean? Whatever that situation may be, whatever that looks like for you, I don't know. Anyway, so if we had a piece of plumbing that the pressure of the water would open a valve, and that valve, as it opens, we're doing this number, and then my elbow slides down over the weep hole. All right, you some type of sag. Then now I turn off the water from the city. It'll go up here and have a off valve. So I turn this off, and then this P-trap thing, because there's no pressure, the flap drops, opening the weep hole. Whatever that piece of plumbing needs to be, that's the drop in the bucket. Pack that shit. And then market that to all the plumbers around the world so that they can offer an additional service of winterizing the house. And then put some experts on a specific hose and like a drill pump, because I got this little pump thing I can put on my drill. I push the thing and you drop it in the deal. If I can hook that up to my water tank and I run the 50-foot hose out in the yard, and I just stand there, you know what I mean, and just pump all the water, not just let the water drain out of my water heater, but also pump the water out, and then have a secondary apparatus right there. Like when you sweat in the lines, I got valves right there to turn my stuff off, but I got to go out to the breaker, turn the breaker off to the water tank. So if the electric coming into the water tank actually went to a switch on the wall, the switch on the wall is in over into the tank. Now, if I put my hot water and my in water cold, turn it on, flip the switch, now I'm making hot water when it fills up. Turn it off. Now the water is turned off, flip the switch off, screw the hose on it. The hose has an attachment for the drill. Hit the drill, pump the water out of the tank to make it snappy, quick, whatever. So that might be an additional thing, a tool that you can sell to plumbers. And then, just expand on that for winterizing the house and whatever it takes. Maybe you can do a kit where you put these things together, but that's very specific. I don't know that the frost-free hydrant, I don't know how I would plug that in myself and then be able to turn it on, turn it off like that. But, if that was the thing, instead of that thing coming up out of the ground like that, you know what I mean? If that was just all right there in the ground, I'd just lift the lid on this thing, reach down there and pull that hydrant up. And it does its frost-free thing by draining out my house. And I don't have to worry about my plumbing busting in my house. It's probably a good way to stop the squat, too. Them squatters and stuff. Vagrants or whatever. And then just having drains in the kitchen and in the bathroom, which is what I wanted to do in my bathroom at the apartment, and it did not go the way I wanted it. I'm dealing with pre-existing stuff, and then because that stuff wasn't dry, had the guy pull everything out, and he put it back in with mortar. The mortar didn't dry, but they thought it did. The renters took some showers and just washed all the cement into my drain. So I had to have the guy come out today and do some serious roto-rooter, because when they built the apartment, they did not put clean-outs in between the septic tank and the tub. So yeah, I just narrowly, like if I'd have waited one more day, I would have had a rock inside the peep trap. So luckily it didn't set up in there either, and little pieces came out a little at a time. So I mean, just ridiculous. But live and learn. And so $400 later, the water's flowing, but like still waiting for the shower to dry. You know what I mean? Like, and it turns out everybody said, "Oh, well, you did it wrong, Skip." Oh, did I? Or did you just not wait long enough to take a shower? They said, "How long do we have to wait for that to dry out?" I said, "What does it say on the side of that bucket?" Well, it says 24 to 72 hours. The next day, hey, we took a shower and these towels are loose. Bro, like, it's 72 hours, man. And I'm like, put the heaters in there. Everybody says, oh, well, we don't know where the heaters are. And then the ones that they found didn't work. And I was like, how are we heating this place this winter? You know winter's coming, right? But they're from Texas, so they don't know. But they're used to electric everything because they're from the city. So I told him, I said to the guy, I said, why don't you go take the females to the place to buy stuff and let them pick out whatever's aesthetically pleasing. Yeah, because there's about a million different heater things you put in the wall. And it's like, I mean, it's actually cold for, it's not actually, you really don't even get cold, to be honest with you. You might, like, get an Arctic vortex and have freezing conditions for a week every 6 years, like one time every 6 years or whatever. Anyway, I got 350 gallons of propane and 14 propane heaters, and everything's outfitted with carbon monoxide. So, I mean, in all reality, I could go about a decade without freezing just on propane and propane related accessories. Because it's Texas, right? You know, they're like, what do you need that for? I'll use it up cooking way before I ever heat the house with it. But if the power's down, I can heat the house. Anyway, so to just drag it out for 15 minutes, we need a plumbing part that will allow the house to drain on its own. That way the guy at the water tap at the meter, if that guy turns it off, I want my house to start just losing water, just dripping, right? So then I can call and say, hey, you know what I mean? I'm on the road, and for whatever reason, here's this address. Like, hey, go to ABC Street, house number 123. I need you to go out there and turn the water off. I think there's a leak. This dude turned it off, and the whole place just like lose pressure. And then if there's somebody in there I don't want in there, they can be in there with water. They'll be in there without water. So that will help the motivation to find someplace else to live or whatever. But I think that hey, if that's made into like some type of standardized deal, I think it can be marketed to the plumbers and stuff to where they could offer a service. Okay, so like if you put this package together to winterize the rental with the plumber in mind, you know what I mean? You just expand on the idea, make it into a package deal, have all the stuff. You know, I think you could website this thing off of GoDaddy and drop ship everything from a plumbing supply, and that'd be like your gadget, you know, coming out party, I guess, or whatever. Get you out of the weeds into the limelight for your business. Oh yeah, this is BS Plumbing, home of the leaking house on purpose, whatever. You know what I mean? But also give you reason to, you know, manufacture fire hydrants and this other stuff that we're going to need when we don't buy stuff from China no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, plumbing supply is a big deal. That's a very big deal. There's a 100% tariff on stuff coming from China, and we still need stuff from China, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Where are you going to buy a fire hydrant? Because, like, I've hauled some of them, and they're definitely coming from Mexico. So, manufacturing plumbing parts with tight tolerances, you know, you can start out real gimmicky, but then go into a more general, but you can upscale your production, you know, because if you can make this valve, what other valves can you make? Like just the the capacity to be able to make this valve. And this needs to be something that needs to be put into the drop of the bucket system, where, you know, we need the system. We'll go over this one more time. We need the system where people that got the ideas need the people that are actually going to do stuff. You know, the dumb people that are just strong and they just got their mindset. They just keep going at it. And then you got finance guy yonder, and then like oversight people. You know what I'm saying? And I think there's about 3 more actually, but that's the basic of it. And you know, we dramatically need a list of these ideas that these people can pick from and let them pick. You know what I mean? You can do anything if you don't care who gets the credit for it. You know what I mean? And this whole thing where we're, you know, like with the patents and all this other kind of stuff, you know, did somebody already have this idea? And, you know what I mean? Like, look that up. You know what I mean? What's the workaround for that? How do you do the same thing with a different piece? Whatever, I don't know. But this, you know, we need to do this like for the good of mankind type of thing. Dude, I don't know what that looks like in today's world. So it just wrapping my head around it. Like, how can we do this? It's just like with the, you know, the baseball card version of a politician and a website that says, you know, I type in my zip code and like every election I could possibly vote in, you know what I mean? And then just that. And then like a baseball card bio of, you know, who's running for office, you know what I mean? And then a clickable link to their, you know, public sourced information to whatever degree, you know what I mean? Hey, just doing that super vague with like opportunity for what you call it? What do you call it when everybody on the internet looks at it and they're like, oh, well, what about this? What about that? You know, crowdsourced fact checking. You know what I mean? That sounds awesome, but it sounds like you're simultaneously stepping on the toes of every politician. So maybe we scale that back to a bio. Here's this person. This is what they claim. And then let the individuals do the research themselves. That way, I'm not stepping on anybody's toes here. This is just every election that Skip can vote on in his area code. You know what I mean? Like, you know, if I type in 90210, and you know, everything from, you know, the HOA board to the school board to the whatever, you know what I mean? And I think just that would be enough. Honestly, I really do. I honestly 100% believe that would be enough, because the only way you're seeing what you're seeing around the world is people like me ain't voting for stuff like that, you know what I mean? And you get these other people that are just more it's whoever's organized enough to actually get people to go vote. It seems to be a big deal. And with our technology now, it doesn't take a whole lot to send out a message to all the cell phones, you know, and take some ads out or whatever to advertise this deal, and you know, have this thing where you can vote. So you can know what's up with, you know, what elections are happening, when they're happening, what's the, you can also put on there the links to when there's like some kind of vote for whatever bill or whatever else like that. And, you know, you can go from local all the way to presidential. I click on there, you know, 90210, looks like, you know, they're voting for the school board, or the city council, or the sheriff, or whatever. And these, when I click on that, it says who's running. It's just got a picture of them, whatever, from their website. Just a picture. Here's their name, and just facts. Very short. It let the people do the research on their own versus a clickable link that says everything, voting record, the whole 9 yards. You know what I mean? Like, what I want is, this person's trying to rent an apartment off of me, and I'm, vetting this person to see if they're, what's their credit score. I think that would be great. I think that would be great. But I think yeah, I don't think that'll ever work because it just steps on all their toes. However, a scaled back version might actually work, might actually fly. And then really, with this movement for pay attention to your local politics, maybe don't take it all the way to the top. Just county by county. You know what I mean? And then, of course, your zip code will take you to the county. So you might have a few zip codes in one county. However, that'd be a great way to access it. Everybody knows their zip code. I think that would be super duper handy. And maybe that already exists and I'm just ignorant to it. And if so, if you find that already exists, apply your business skills of marketing and make sure everybody knows. Like, let's all know about that. Maybe, put up a few billboards or something. I don't know. Take out an ad at the Super Bowl, whatever. Crowdsource that. Pass the hat. Pass the hat for the betterment of mankind. You know what I mean? Start a new GoFundMe that's just called Pass the Hat, and then be like, this is the funding to do things for the betterment of mankind, and just fully transparent. Get like, I would say my mother-in-law. She would be perfect. She was a treasurer in a ministry that's like so squared away with, every dime. You know what I mean? She had a cookie jar one time. I looked in there. There's just all these envelopes of cash. I'm like, y'all definitely need more secure situation going on. Anyway. I can totally say way too much about that right now. But she was just right as the day is long. And some of these ideas for the drop in the bucket, it's stuff that you're never going to do, bro. Like, you ain't never going to do that. It's a great idea. And everybody's like, oh, I have all these great ideas every day. Okay, so why not compile these great ideas with these idea people putting into this bucket so that these, like a person that don't have the idea can use it, you know what I mean? And then, like, how do we do that and make sure it stays American? You know what I mean? So by developing some company that can take in the ideas and they can take in the people looking for ideas and kind of just quarterback and just juice them up. You know what I mean? Yeah, do this. Yeah, do that, or whatever like that. You know what I mean? And then you can get the philanthropy type of stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I talk to these people about business or whatever else like that, and I juiced them up to go and do something or whatever. But here's this subject matter expert that's going to donate 10% of his operation to just like going with this drop the bucket. In every aspect of doing a business, these professionals that are operating at a high level could donate into this deal. And I'm talking about doing this as a tax write-off. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you're making all this money for doing all this work, and then, like, you're doing all this over here, and you're getting all this fulfillment out of it and everything, but then you're not paying taxes on this other stuff because you're billing it out and you're going great. You see what I'm saying? So, I mean, you can go 50-50 on this deal and never pay taxes type of thing. And that's where we get in to make it make sense. You know what I mean? If you don't make dollars, you don't make sense. And then if it involves giving away dollars, or you know, the guy giving away the idea, you know, that's not nothing. You know, workers worth his wages. The guy that's coaching and juicing them up about, you know, motivationals and everything. And then there's the how-to, and then there's the, you know, consultation and the accounting and all this other kind of stuff like that. You know what I mean? So just the guy standing back orchestrating this, and here's this place where everybody can donate to, you know, the bucket. You know what I mean? Like, whoever holds the bucket holds the future of innovation. Not just the future of innovation, but like like somebody's going to do real good with it. You know, just statistically, you throw 100 go-getters at this thing, and something's going to work out, blow up. You know it is, right? So if you're holding the bucket, and this is getting big over here, and this is getting big over there, and the bucket's your alma mater, like that's where you went to the college of get her done. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So now here's this person that used the idea, that happened to be the accountant person, and because they're blowed up over here, they're accounting with, you know, BS plumber and drain your house. You know what I mean? And now here it is, 11 years later, you know, and they're, you know, everybody's well off, and then they have an opportunity to give back, and then like not pay taxes because they picked it in. It's like that guy, the Hobby Lobby guy. He bought all them artifacts and stuff and donated them to a museum that he built. So because he spent this money on this artifact, and then he donated it to that museum, the donation was a tax write-off. And it was a public museum, but he owned it. So he's buying all these trinkets and shit that he thinks is cool because he's like an artifact collector, the way, you know, like some people like Legos. You know what I mean? This dude monetized his Lego collection, dude. And it's like, you know, freaking pieces of the ark, you know, the golden chalice, and, you know, the Epic of Gilgamesh, and all these cuneiform tablets and stuff that's just like borderline priceless or whatever. You know what I mean? It's cool shit. High value shit. So when he goes out and he spends $17 million to smuggle stolen artifacts out of Iraq, which is what really happened. This dude turned around and didn't pay no taxes for like the, you know, eastern half of his, you know, nationwide corporation that, you know, has product that never goes bad because it's all just like, you know, model airplanes and shit. So like a model airplane for a 7-year-old kid is a model airplane for a 7-year-old kid. So it doesn't matter if it's this year's 7-year-old kid or next or 20 years from now, and how intricate it is or whatever else like that. 7-year-old kid's a 7-year-old kid. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna glue this some bitch together and, you know, put some sticks together and a rubber band, twist it, point it that way, and throw it out the window, let the rubber band take over. Oh, wow. You know what I mean? Whatever. Encourage these kids to go be a pilot or a mechanic. Whatever. You see what I'm saying? But if he buys it in 2005, a freaking container ship full of these things, if he still got half of them in 2025, Christmas time, this $3 kit that he was selling for $10 is a $25 kit because of tariffs on China. The public doesn't realize he's had this shit for 10 years. You know what I mean? And then that's a big money maker, and then he buys artifacts in his museum. You know what I mean? With that thought in your head right now, imagine the bucket, and you're holding it. And you're getting the idea guy. You're getting make little rocks out of big rocks. What does that guy do? You know what I mean? The innovation. That's the bucket. It's kind of what the internet is. Kind of what DARPA did with the internet. They just smiled at everybody. You know what I mean? Oh shit, we can do that. Oh shit, he's doing that over there. Oh, there's that. Oh, here's this over here. You know what I mean? They're just like cleaning all of it, putting stuff together. Well, it's time to privatize that. You know what I mean? And expand on it, capitalize on that situation, and offer the alumni. And a lot of people already have systems like this. I mean, there's different unions, coalitions, syndicates, whatever, that are already affiliated with stuff. But when y'all get together, you know what I mean? You guys get together and stuff like that, you're like, oh, you're, this product, or oh, you're that product. Because y'all just focused on one thing and took it further than anybody else. Right? And you're really good at that one thing. And that's what makes you exceptional. You know what I mean? And that's great. I love that. And most of the generalized people, the jack of all trades is not making it that far. Because he's not that focused. It's not that his bandwidth is overwhelmed with multiple directions. So he's not able to do that stuff or whatever like that. But the broad spectrum guy that's holding it all together, when they get together, they can talk about all these different things. And then I'm not just an idea guy. I'm not just, backpack guy. I'm not just, knife guy. I'm not just jiu-jitsu guy. You know what I mean? I'm not this one specific thing where I'm just like subject matter expert beats marketing with great sales or whatever. You know what I mean? And dropping the bucket can bring that stuff together. You know what I mean? So when the heads of industry are rubbing elbows at an event or whatever else like that, taking a step back from, oh, you're the champion of backpack and you're, car manufacturing wonder, and you're, a political coach guy or whatever, you know what I mean? Stepping back and saying, hey, we're humanity. And have you heard about the bucket? Have you put a drop in the bucket? You know what I mean? Let's pass the hat so that we can put drops in the bucket. And we're going to hold the bucket. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the key. That's the key. We'll juice everybody up to put their talent and time into the bucket. And united, we will stand. Uncle Sam wants you. Sam's got this bucket, right? And Sam is we the people. And then bring it up. Then the lawyers can get fucked. And there's nothing they can do about that because we got the bucket. We're holding the bucket. And when the AI goes away and the electrical glitch, the great glitch of northern America, I mean, what's the chances of that happening? It's got to be like 50-50 in the next 100 years. Just solar flare gets us. You know what I'm saying? But when you think about the wars and the earthquakes and all these other different things, the solar eclipse or solar winds, radiation, what do they call it when that solar flare happens and that stuff comes out? They call it, I know there's, the EMP and all this other kind of stuff, but it's a solar storm. It's at a certain time it gets a lot worse. I forget what they call it. Anyway, innovation. You know what I'm saying? And you got this shit on fucking pen and paper, bro. Like, you need all your shit printed out. It's got to be printed out in a Pelican case or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, print your shit, put it in a giant PVC pod that's got caps on both ends, you know, and freaking, you know, cement on one end. Do a coupler, you know, but one pipe is all cement, sand, whatever. The next piece of pipe is the bucket, critical information. You go sink it in the freaking local pond to whatever degree. You know what I mean? Have it ready to go with just everything post-grid down. Everything you would want your grandkids to have when they wake up one day and they're fishing and they find, you know, the Dead Sea Scrolls of our modern time. You know what I mean? And be ready for that shit. And like every bit of it can be the bucket. You know, put these drops in the bucket. You know what I mean? How are we going to get from one stage to the next? And what if it's all bullshit, right? And there really is cycles where the Earth is just like spinning and then turns and spins the other way on its side, and like giant water folds over the Earth, you know, encapsulating all the forest, you know, that, you know, turns into coal. Like there's evidence this has happened over and over and over and over. Maybe. Could have just been the flood. I think it was the flood. I think it just happened that one time. But in between now and later, you know, because I got news for you. Jesus might be coming back in like 2275. That's entirely possible from what I've read. So we got to be ready for tomorrow, like later today, in the next 15 minutes, Jesus shows up. Come on. He don't show up, I just die an old man. And my generations live on. Cool. How can I do that better? How can I make that better? Well, I gotta take over there for Jesus one way or another. I mean, it's just like, you know, you gotta have a hobby in this. There again, here's another 5-minute video. It's 38 minutes long. Rock Hill, go get them.